what can I do tomorrow to be closer to where I want to be instead of complaining about, what happened to me. And I think that more than anything is just ask the right questions, even with invention, with anything. I see a problem and you're frustrated about something. Instead of complaining about it, I can't believe people did it. Well, what can I do to avoid this?
Hey everybody, this is Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jenn Giamo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, the podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we talk to each other, but we're always talking to you.
Every week we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And today we are talking to a fitness legend,
Truly.
The creator of the ab roller.
Let's get started. Today, our guest is one of the most acclaimed and successful entrepreneurs, inventors, and fitness gurus. He's a think outside the box, creative problem solver with an intense drive and passion for life, which allows him to successfully accomplish his goals. You probably know him best as the inventor of the very popular ab roller. With sales of more than $1 billion, you can find it in every garage, basement, commercial gym, you name it. At 27, he quit his day job to pursue his first entrepreneurial endeavor, owning a health and fitness business, and this was just the beginning of his journey.
I met Don through the fitness world, and we had been trying to find a way to work together for years, I feel like. He has inspired me and given me advice, and now he is here to share his words of wisdom with us.
Yes.
Please welcome Don Brown.
Yay! Thanks so much for being here.
Wow, that was some intro. I want to meet this guy.
So we are going to jump right in. We have a lot of questions for you today, and we are a health and wellness and fitness podcast, but, we do want to touch on, all these inventions that you've created. We're super curious about that. But I think that I want to start way back, right?
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
I think that sometimes people think to be as successful as you are, that you had to have advantages, a lot of advantages growing up. Was that the case for you?
No, quite the opposite. That's for sure. But I look at that as an advantage. All right. So when you say people were lucky and given things to make it easier, to me, being forced to grow up quickly and take responsibility is really a gift. So you can call it a disadvantage if you want, but no, it was great. I mean, I wouldn't change anything. It's a little crazy, but a lot of fun.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, how
Sure.
you started out?
So I don't know how far back you want me to start. I mean, geez, I never met my dad. So mom remarried several times to pretty much lose her dads at a young age. And so, really, it was kind of my mom, just pushing me and my sister. And then I had some step brothers and sisters as well. So we had 5 in our family. My mother had me when she was 16. So, and my sister when she was 15. So, very young start. And, she lived a fast, crazy life, working 2-3 jobs all the time. So she, did her best that she could with all of us. But, I think the thing that gave me inspiration with her was she was creative. And that's where I think I got sort of my creativity from. And since we didn't have a lot, if you wanted something, you either had to figure out how to make it yourself, or you had to figure out how to earn some money so you could go buy the nicer brand or the nicer thing. So, that was, again, I look at that as an advantage. Mom left when I was 17, my senior year in high school. She decided to go with another boyfriend and took my stepbrothers and sisters.
Wow.
So, I was left alone at 17. It was all right. I mean, living in a house, it was foreclosure and crazy, but kept my day job after school and finally graduated and worked in a supermarket. So that was really my start. And I look at everything that I've gone through, and you look back from where you are today, it's sort of a path that I think anyone can look back. You can't connect the dots going forward. I think that was a Steve Jobs quote, but you have to look back and, becoming and working in a supermarket, understanding all the margins and profits and getting into the meat department. That was another big part of my life. And that's what I credit my anatomy and physiology to, and becoming a fitness nut. So before that, the biggest thing that probably gave me my desire to be healthy and fit was my mother used to watch Jack LaLanne, who
No
was like the
kidding.
father of fitness when I was
Yeah.
10 years old. And I can remember me wanting to be this muscle bound kid on the beach. And Jack was like the guy with muscles. And I ended up following Jack LaLanne my whole life. And the ironic thing was when I finally did quit my job of 10 years cutting meat, I took over a failed Jack LaLanne fitness center that was going out of business. And then later I got to meet Jack. I got involved with infomercials in the Jack LaLanne juicer. So I was at his 95th birthday with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jack LaLanne. So how
Wow.
do you
Wow.
connect all that, right? Pretty cool
Wow.
stuff. So
That
he,
is cool
you know,
stuff.
big inspiration about health and fitness. So I went from
Yeah.
learning anatomy, cutting meat, learning business, being a department manager, understanding profit margins, payroll, people, to finally saying, well, I don't want to live in a freezer and become an old arthritic old butcher.
Sure.
So I'm going to open my own health club. And the only reason I did is because we went on strike. The
Oh,
meat union
good.
decided to go on strike, and I was
Wow.
picketing in January of 1984 with a sign, making $40 a week, freezing my butt off. And I
Oh,
took a
Yeah.
job at this Jack LaLanne Fitness Center that eventually went out of business. 86 is when I took it over, and
okay.
that started my whole entrepreneurial career.
Wow.
20 years
Wow.
owning health clubs, and then creating cool products while I
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah. Well,
We-
speaking of the products, the ab roller, I mean, just my own personal curiosity, like, what made you think of this?
Mhm.
Like, how did it just dawn on
Well,
you?
it's simple, right? Most brilliant ideas, not to say mine was, start where someone decides they want to solve a problem, right? So the problem was one of my clients. You know, that's when personal training wasn't even a thing when I started. And I had a client who had hurt her neck in a car accident, and she couldn't do a crunch or a sit up. Just putting her hands behind her head and pulling, that little bit of stress caused sharp pain. So I was like, geez, maybe put a towel behind her head. Maybe I can, put an ankle weight behind her head and have a little bit of resistance so she could control it and not yank on her head. And then one day at my desk, I'm just sitting there playing with a paper clip, and I bent it in the shape of this rocking chair. And that I said, wow,
Wow.
this would work. I went to Home Depot, bent a pipe, made a full scale version, duct tape and foam, and hid it in my office and would sneak people in. They'd go, oh my God, this thing's great. And that was the
Wow.
start. That was 94, 19, no, 93,
94,
94.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now, okay.
long time
So
ago.
with that,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. I mean, I did know that story, but just kind of occurring to me now. How did you have the mechanical skills? Where did that come from? Was that just something innate in you, this engineering
Mm.
mechanical ability?
Never gone to school, college, anything like that. It really is about just I was really good at fixing things that broke. My grandmother would always go to me and say, "Here, this radio doesn't work. Figure it out." And I just love to break things apart and
Right.
look at it. And and then of course you couldn't buy a lot of new stuff. You didn't have a lot of extra cash around,
Sure.
so I had to make things work. But I don't know. I think everyone has that ability.
And so
So
then you decided to manufacture it yourself, or I mean, was it kind of thing where you're just knocking on doors and saying, okay, I have this great idea, and then finally someone said
now the
yes?
funny thing, we went from a bent piece of pipe that I bent from Home Depot to going around. There's no internet back then, right?
Yeah.
So what did I do? I went to local welding shops and looked for people that bent pipe for a living. There's people that make walkers and canes. So I found a shop that could bend the pipe and make it look nicer. And took them a while to actually match my bent one from that I bent myself. And
Yeah.
so that was step one. And then once we had some made, I enlisted one of my personal trainers who was working for me at my health club. I told him, this is your project. Run around. Let's get some painted up nice. Let's go to a trade show. So it was the Club Industry Fitness Show back in 1995, I think. We
Wow.
attended in Chicago. And it was the same year that they launched, it was a Stairmaster. Stairmaster was
Oh, the
Stairmaster.
big.
Stairmaster,
Yeah,
sure.
Stairmaster. But there was the Tony Little Gazelle? The
Yes.
Yeah.
original version of that was, I forget the name of it, but that was launched. It was like this big spacey looking gliding type of elliptical. That was there, and that was like the big thing. And then not far from it in this little booth was the ab roller, and everybody was there.
That's
including
crazy.
all the knockoff experts taking
Right.
pictures.
That, yeah.
Well, that's another, yeah, that's
That's
another
a
thing we want
whole
to ask
thing.
about too. But yeah, I mean, I think because it's something so accessible, it's everyone could have one and it's easy and
Right.
it's transportable. But I mean, this is just the very beginning
Right,
of
right.
things that you've invented. What other products, or maybe it's the app roller, or ideas are you most proud of?
Um, Hard to say. I mean, most proud of. I mean, there's been a lot of fitness items. It seems that fitness is always my wheelhouse.
Kind of your niche,
I've
yeah.
tried to create a lot of products, but fitness is where my passion is. And the one thing I do tell a lot of people, like, don't invent something just to make money, because your chances are it just won't work. If you're not passionate about it, if you wouldn't personally use it, um, so more recently, my stealth fitness company has taken off. Again, gamifying fitness was a fun path to go on, and that idea originally came from a friend of mine who's my business partner, who said, "Hey, planks are boring. You have to
Yeah.
do something about it." So yeah, we worked together, built the stealth fitness company right now, which is launching a bunch of cool products.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I think after the ab roller days and the original name was the Ab Trainer, by the way. But I formed a company called the Abs Company not too long after that. And from there, we did all sorts of wellness products, from handheld massagers to the Ab Coaster, which you'll find in every Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
sold that company a few years ago, but that's still my favorite ab product, I would say, out of
Yeah.
everything, because you don't have to get down on the floor. I think as I get older, doing crunches isn't as exciting as I love the
No.
bottom up movement of an ab coaster. But
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
second, that obviously planking is really good, and it's a good exercise, and
And fun. And
The
gamifying it's
fun,
yeah,
fun.
the stealth. I mean, I love the stealth, and just the fact that you use your phone. Like, there's could be a game. There's like you're not
Yeah,
thinking about, oh, I'm holding a plank. Like, it gives your mind something to do, so you're not thinking about what you're
yeah.
actually
right.
doing. You know.
That's
So
hence the name Stealth, right? The
yeah,
original name
Yeah,
came
exactly,
from
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
from the shape, so now it's stealth in
Right.
fitness, right?
These different inventions, they're evidence based and they're based around science. How do you make sure that those are kind of lining up with what research says?
Well,
Do you
That
yeah,
they're actually.
I
Yeah.
do a lot of research, and I always try to model things I create based on what people already do in a health club. So, planking is an exercise you would do in a health club, you do at home. The
Mhm.
gimmicky stuff that you see on TV, that I just can't stand it, because a lot of it just doesn't work. It's just,
Hmm.
shock your fat off with an electric belt, you know.
Right.
And they take a lot of people's money because people want to sit home and eat hamburgers and French fries and think that they're going to get
Right.
six packs, right? So that kind of stuff I would never get involved with, because it doesn't sell in a health
Sure.
club.
Right.
Because now there is a room for electric stim, but it sure is not a little cheap, shocking, burning device you put on your belly.
That's them.
Right. And it's not, yeah, I was gonna say, and it's not
Yeah.
usually, for that.
Right.
Now, so with that, and I'm just thinking about in terms of, seeing things that are out there, what people are doing and trends and stuff. What about customization? Like, how do you know what individuals are going to like? Like, if there's something that's popular in gyms, do you automatically think, well, each person individually is going to find that appealing, or how do you customize it, I guess,
Well, it
without talking about
starts first by first defining a market.
it? Mm-hmm.
Is there a market? And for instance, planking, there's millions of people who do planks. So the question is, can we, entertain them and help them even get better results to push them harder by gamifying an exercise people are familiar with? So the rule in product development that I have is there an existing market big enough
Mm-hmm.
in order to design within that? And from a fitness industry standpoint, is it a product that has real world credibility?
Right.
So if there's a leg press machine, which we know there is,
Yeah.
then can I make a leg press machine for home, right? And
Mm-hmm.
is there a market that's so saturated it doesn't make sense to win? I always like to innovate in any category, right?
Mm-hmm.
So start with a category, and then you innovate within it, because you don't want to play the race to the bottom price game, right?
Right.
Right.
You don't want to be the person doing another set of ankle weights
Right.
because there's 6 million of them. You're just going to call yours, XYZ
Exactly.
instead. And like a lot of people do that, they just throw a new label
Yeah.
on an existing product. You
Yeah.
have to make it different. I always
Right.
say, how can, even it's subtle, it doesn't have to be that much different.
Yeah.
And then you get to charge a higher price point, and then you can be profitable
Right.
because that's kind of how I do it.
Okay.
And so, I mean, just out of curiosity, I mean, is there anybody who beat you to an idea? Like, is there something out there that you wish that you had thought of instead of whoever else that
Well,
might be?
both, right? There's funny. I came up with that idea for the coffee cup sleeve way before they existed.
That's funny.
You know, the
Coffee cup sleevelet on a hot cup of
you don't
coffee?
burn your fingers. Yeah.
Like, you're
So
kidding.
no,
That's
I
funny.
remember like yesterday. It was back in the late '80s, early '90s. I was traveling, and my girlfriend at the time said, "Go get me a cup of coffee." And I went over, and they handed me 2 cups. And I'm like, "Well, that's stupid. Why are they wasting a cup so I don't burn my hand?" So I took one of those styrofoam cups and I just cut the ring off it and slid one on. I got home. I'm like, they should have just a little kind of ring or something. And it wasn't a few years later that Java Jacket came out, and they were doing like
That's
8 million a
funny.
year.
Oh my
So
God.
Wow.
that was cool. That you know I always say that if you don't act on an idea, it goes back into the universe, and
Yeah.
And
someone
somebody
else
else is
who
going to grab
runs
it.
into the same problem, it
Right.
shows up.
But
So
it's
everyone
almost,
has that opportunity. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like validation though. Of,
Yeah.
this was a really a good
Right.
idea. I just didn't get to it.
And what do you think
Right.
sets you apart when you're thinking about ideas, and how you develop them so that you beat a competitor? Like, is there anything different that you think you guys do, that you do?
I mean, it's always great to be the category creator, but look at the evolution of digital music. I always
Mm.
look at, Apple, Steve Jobs. So they really don't invent anything. MP3 players were all over the place. They just waited for a market to be established. Because the
Wow.
person that first comes in
Interesting.
has to spend millions educating people that you don't need a CD anymore. You need to have this little digital thing. Like, what the hell is that, right? So
Yeah.
millions and millions are spent. So Apple sits around and waits, and they wait very intelligently. Then they just innovate like crazy and come out with a marketing campaign and a high quality product that just blows everybody away. So now you have this, it's like, taking a bunch of meat-eating crazy people and saying, tomorrow we're opening, the freshest hamburger stand in the world, and you get them for free if you line up, right? That's what they do. They create, how they do other
Yeah.
launches. I mean, everything they do is purely based on launching something completely innovative in a category that people are already drooling over.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
sort of the angle that I like to take with anything. So I don't say, oh, I missed that one. I mean, there's been, what, 10 or 20 or 100 different companies making coffee sleeves after that
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
one. That guy was
Right.
making money because he was selling advertising on it.
Right.
But no
Yeah.
one could protect it as a patent. Maybe there is some patents on some of those perforated sleeves, but bottom line is anyone can go into any market nowadays with e-commerce. You can go into any category, and if you innovate and make a change to justify a higher price point, then you can actually stand a chance to steal the brand,
The
right?
brand.
Wow.
And just look on Amazon, Google any item you want, skin
Yeah.
cream, nail polish, and you will find hundreds of different people trying to compete in that
In
space.
that space.
And on Amazon, you win the game with the most reviews at the best price.
Yeah.
Well, they want to give you the one that most people are buying,
That's
Yeah.
and
right.
they're either
That's right.
buying because
Yeah.
it's the best price or because it actually does what it says it does, right? And
Right.
usually
Right.
they're one and the same.
Right.
But we use it differently now. Like, I have a strategy with Amazon is I don't care if we have one review. Yes, we want 20, 40, 50. I want people going to Amazon to look for my specific product.
Right.
And in doing so, I can put it at the highest price possible so they can see it. It validates that the product's real. When people see it on Amazon, they know you're not a scammer on the internet. So you run your own
Wow.
website and you
Yes.
discount your price on your own site, because with
Yes.
Amazon, you don't get to collect email addresses. So you don't even know who your customer is,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Right.
And you give away 15, 20% in fees to Amazon.
Yeah.
So why not give your customers a better price on your site, capture your customers so you can sell them more stuff
So you can sell them more
later.
stuff. Yeah.
So that's the strategy that I've been using instead of playing the price game,
The price
because
game.
it's
Right.
very hard,
Now, okay, so I'm switching gears a little bit, sort of. Just talking about these ideas, and how how do you go from this idea in your head, this conception, to an actual workable prototype? And I know we've talked, and you always say you have something going on in your garage all the time, a different prototype that you're making. But what about does that? I guess two questions. What does that process look like? And then do you have to have a lot of money to create these things?
Now, obviously, you need a paper clip when I did the ab roller, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
so you see it in your head, get it on a piece of paper, sketch it on a napkin. Then I say, make a miniature version. Use paper clips, pipe cleaners, anything from a craft store. Like I do that all the time. I mean, the ab coaster that you see in Planet Fitness, I made that out of popsicle sticks. I had this
Wow.
idea of how it would work. And that original ab coaster product was sent to me by a gentleman in Texas. The idea, the basic idea, he took a total gym, which is a straight thing, and he was holding on to the top, had his knees on the pad, and he was pulling them up and down this straight thing. And he said, "This is my ab raiser." I said, "That's a total gym." Well, no, people will buy it. I said, And so he filed the patent on this straight track thing. Long
Yeah.
story short, I coached him and I said, bend the rails, make the pad pivot.
Right.
And a couple months later, I'm back, he's sending me a video. And I said, send it to me. And it was this big duct tape, ugly looking, bent up. And he sent it to me. And then I went to our factories in China and spent like 2 weeks there.
Okay.
And figured out exact radius for the perfect, leg lift. So that was a real challenging product, but it is solid today. It's in every Planet Fitness, and
I mean,
yeah.
That's
So it's
incredible.
So how do you, I guess, how do you stay up to date with different trends and technologies? I mean, there's all of this, the merging of technology and health now with wearable devices and all of that. How do you stay on top of that research to inform new products?
So I mean, I'm a big believer in feeding your mind every day. Like I grew up. I mean, my inspiration to leave my first job was from a company called Nightingale Conan. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay, so they were the first cassette tape company to do Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power cassette tapes that were all over TV back in the 90s. It was an infomercial about change your life, walk on fire, the power of positive thinking. So I used to listen to those tapes every day. And I can tell you, I probably spent $50,000 in my life on audio cassettes. And now I continue that every week with Blinkist, which is, summary of books, and
Sure.
Audible.
Right.
So any new book that comes out right now, my focus is on health and longevity and living forever. And that's the huge trend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now I'm looking at designing programs, products, supplements that work within that trend because it's something I will personally use.
Yeah.
So I watch all these different guys and experts and hackers and biohackers, and I listen to what they're saying, and then I productize ideas. So that's kind of the steps. First, what's the problem? What's the solution, right? So you say the problem is I hate brushing my teeth. Okay, so how can we make you like brushing your teeth? Well, let's make a flavored toothpaste, right? So someone figured out that, they could make it taste better than people would use it. And you know what I'm saying? So then you say, how do I turn that solution into a product?
To a product.
Let's get which toothpaste originally was a tooth powder. I believe it was like a pumice powder or baking soda.
Yep.
And then they made it into a paste so it would stick on a brush. So you have to productize it. Then you have something to sell because, look at bottled water. I mean, how the heck do you go down that path, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can drink water.
I'm going to go totally off track. What is your go-to, what does Don Brown use to work out? What's your routine? Do you use your own, you put your money where your mouth is, you use your own products, or you, just run outside? I know you're an outdoorsman.
Yeah. No, I have a Woodway treadmill. I have an AMT elliptical, and I have a recumbent bike, and I have a prototype for our new product, the Stealth
Yeah.
Cycle. So I do basic concepts now only because of how old I am. I want to not cause inflammation and
Yeah.
maximize muscle mass as well as cardiovascular. So I'll do slow, long, 40-minute jogs once or twice a week. And I'll do sprint eights, which I haven't done yet today because I remembered I had this podcast. And I was getting ready to do it, and I checked, let me check my
Like,
calendar.
no.
So yeah, I do sprint eights, which are basically 30-second intense intervals with a minute and a half recovery. And then 2 to 3 days a week, I do very slow controlled strength training, either full body or I'll split up the muscle groups. And that's it. And I use the ab coaster. I'll use stealth. I'll use the plank. Not all the time. Like I prefer my ab coaster, or I'll do hanging leg raises. I still believe that is the
Yeah.
best
Right.
exercise on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, like a gymnast, you hang from a bar. And lately, I've been doing, after reading some of these books, I've been doing these grip training. Like a fireman's carry with kettlebells, or just hanging from a pull-up bar as long as I can to see how long I could go.
Grip strength, form
Yeah, there
strength.
is.
Yes, so it's so important.
important.
And, talking about longevity and, and obviously we're all aging and that's
Yeah.
a big thing. And,
Right.
I have a couple questions here, but I guess how do you, what would you say is the most important piece to encourage people to have this sort of sustainable lifestyle change going into, I don't want to say old age, but sustainable, across your lifespan
As you age.
as you age?
It's interesting. Have you read the book Outlive yet? Peter Attia.
No.
No, but she's
Yeah,
about
so
to
I'm
download.
almost
She's going to leave
done.
me and download it right now on Audible.
So, I've read a bunch of them, all of the biohackers, but Peter Attia is a MD and pretty solid guy. So he won't take any position on diet and nutrition. But the one thing he's pushing more than anything, he calls it the 100-year decathlon. And he basically says, if you're 100 years old, what are the top 10, 20 things you want to be able to do every day, right? So he says, what do I want to do? Well, I'd like to kneel down and play with my grandkids for 2 hours. I'd like to go shopping and carry all my groceries up my flight of stairs at 100. And I'd like to have sex, and I'd like to have all these things. He has this list that he presents to his patients. And okay, then check them all off. You want to be able to do those now? Well, you're 60 now. So you're going to decline as you age. So where do you have to be now? So to me, it's like, look at that, and you can immediately sort of get a goal based on where you want to be later.
Right.
And you can measure where you are now, from grip strength to, can I actually stand on one foot? Do I have balance? How is my lower body strength? Can I run a mile in under 8 minutes? Can I do 5 or 10 or 20 pull-ups? Right. So whatever strength you have now, in your over 50 is really so important if we want to live to be 100. So, so to answer your question, it's like, what do I do to stay motivated or keep on track, is you have to find things that work. And he talks about this a lot in the book because it's not right for everyone's different. Like, here's a great thing I never knew. So why are some people morning people and others are night people? Do you know why?
I do not.
No.
Neither did I. No, this is the theory, and I thought it was a brilliant theory. So human beings evolved in communities of people. They like being together. And evolution said, well, if they all go to sleep at the same time and wake up, because sleep is not optional. Every species has to sleep to recover and rebuild and become a stronger species. So the theory is that some of us love getting up really early, some, a little later, and some want to be up all night and then sleep until 10. And this is after adolescence, obviously, after you're an adult. The theory is that if we all went to sleep at the same time, predators would come in and kill us all. So for the species to survive, they made some night owls. So they'd be up to watch over the tribe, to wake everybody up and protect them so they could get their sleep to recover, to thrive. Cool idea, right? So instead of saying, I'm going to wait till I die to sleep, and instead of beating yourself up for not being a morning person or night person, you have to find where you are, not just on the sleep side or on the rest side, but even on the nutrition side. Like, to me, intermittent fasting works great. For some people, it won't work.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
people love counting calories. We all know we're over fed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that's our biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
We have
Yes.
a survival body that's just over nutrition. We get just so much nutrition in and around that it's just insane. So we cause all our own health problems. So I think you have to kind of find a balance. And then the last thing I would say is using technology. So I have an Apple Watch. I have a sleep app.
Yeah.
And measuring, the next thing I'm going to do is get a continuous glucose monitor because I really want to see how food affects me. However, sleep, it's like clockwork. 100%, 100%, 100%. Tonight, I'll have a glass of wine. 80%. Like alcohol is a killer. And
Yeah.
3 glasses, 50%. It's like terrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So tonight I'm doing a strategy.
This is
I'm
our
going to try to
latest. You've
drink.
hit on our latest obsession is our sleep.
Yeah, a lot of the biohackers have their formula, right? Stop
Yeah.
all the screens at 8 o'clock
Yeah.
and do not look at your phone, hide it. I mean, I put it in, the blue light mode. Plus, I wear these really dark red, amber blocking glasses the last hour because I have a breathing app on my phone called Oak, OAK,
Okay.
which I do, what's it, the
Box
4,
breathing.
7, 8 breath.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
I love it. I do it religiously because of my past health issues with PVCs and PACs, and it just shuts them off. Like it's magically. If you have anyone that's got premature ventricular rate contractions or PACs, do that twice a day.
Yeah.
And Dr.
Wow.
Andrew Wild was the one that in
Yeah.
his book called Breath Work. But they wanted to put me on medication right away, and I don't take anything.
Right.
But anyway, it works great. So I do that breathing at night, but I use these glasses now, so I don't get a big shot of blue light in my eyes from my phone, right?
Yeah.
And it works. It
Yeah,
really does.
and
Yes,
there's
that's
there's
definitely.
so many things like that. And Don, you and I have talked about all these different sort of biohacks, but things that really truly do work. The morning light meditation. We talked recently about Upgrade Labs and how do you. I want to kind of talk a little bit about that because we were talking specifically about technology and as you age, how there are specific things that you can do for your body. Intermittent fasting may not work for me, but it would work for you. How do we find those things out? How do we investigate them? How reliable are those results?
Well, I mean, you can find plenty of trackers. I say everyone should have an Apple Watch, at least an iPhone, or some way to just see how much am I moving a day, right? Because obviously that's step one. If you're not moving because you're sitting, and then there's little tests, right? If you research it, just being able to do a normal squat, being able to stand there and squat and do a deep squat. Most people lose that.
Yeah.
Look at a little kid. They squat down when they first learn to walk. Their butt's touching the ground. Their diaper's dragging on the ground, and they can just squat down and balance themselves. Why can't we? Because we immediately take the chair and sit in the car. So you lose all this stuff as you get older. So I think it's just researching and understanding what tools are out there that you can at least see benchmarks of where I should be. And then, how can I get some of that back? You're never going to get it all back if you didn't already do. I mean, I'm so grateful that I never smoked, that I got into fitness at a young age of, 10 years old. I was working out, but I got into the health club business at 27. And you think about that, right? So at least I have a foundation.
Sure.
So my chances of dying of some terrible heart attack or disease or cancer is definitely much less than a person who's never been active and is now just starting out. But you can still, I mean, the thing that you'll read in Outlive is he pushes the idea if you don't have a foundation of fitness, if you don't have solid muscular strength for your age, and you're not in the top 5% for your age, not talking athletic people, but if you don't have good max VO2, cardiovascular fitness and strength balance, you don't even have to look at nutrition. Just forget about it. If you don't have that, nothing will improve your chances of dodging the big deadly bullets of disease than having a strong foundation of fitness. And you can still get that even if you're totally out of shape,
That
Yeah,
was,
it's never
yeah.
too
Well,
late. I
that
mean,
was,
right? I mean, is there ever a point where it's too late? You can't, I mean, maybe when you're 100, you're at the end, but it's like,
yeah, I mean, I think, well,
Yeah.
to your point of measuring that progress,
yeah,
but is there a point, or I mean, obviously, if you're 60 and you've never worked out before in your life and you've never lifted a weight and you're starting obviously from a much lower place, but
yeah,
what does that look like? I mean, can you
Hmm.
can you recover any of that lost time?
right,
Oh, yeah. So what's amazing is if you put your arm in a cast and it's not broke, what happens? It shrinks.
Strengths
right,
atrophies, yeah.
So that's happened to most people who've been active their whole life. They're just a full body cast, but not as extreme because they
yeah,
do
Right.
move somewhat. So when you stimulate that muscle, even though you don't have the growth hormone levels, you don't have the strength level, elderly people can gain back muscle mass pretty quick, just like you take a cast off of a broken arm. You can now start moving that arm again. So you've been inactive for a long, long time. As soon as you activate and use proper techniques,
yeah. The basic tenets of physical fitness are the same as they ever were. It's just like people are just looking for different ways to do the same thing. I mean, I think I'm asking
yeah,
that of both of you, as fitness professionals.
yep.
Um, you just have to go back to basics, it seems like, right?
I heard something this morning on a podcast I thought was brilliant, and they said if you sit down and write down what you normally eat, your favorite meals, there's probably 6 to 10 things you eat most of the time,
Most of the time.
Yeah,
right? I have my
it's
salmon, I have my, you
right.
know, my
Yeah,
elk, I have
right.
my big salad, my arugula. Like I could sit and
Yeah,
probably name 6 or 8 meals that I pretty much eat every week.
yeah,
Right.
So what they said I thought was brilliant is look at those, and I don't care if it's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, whatever it is. These are the things you eat all the time. Okay, what little thing can you do to make that align for you living longer?
Hmm.
Oh,
right,
maybe I'll get rid of this part of it, or I'll
right.
instead of a big bowl of pasta, I'll put half vegetables in, right? So it's just not asking you to change what you already love to do,
Sure.
to
Yeah,
modify
yeah, yeah.
something.
Making those
Making a yeah,
modifications.
that's
Yeah.
key to it
And
all.
it's about creating habits. I think we both know that,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that
yeah.
to me is where
Absolutely.
the
I mean,
magic
yeah, the
is.
habit, it, yeah, that's all it is. It's just, okay, there's no
Hmm.
negotiations here. You get up, you work out, you have your schedule, I have my schedule. It's like you just know in your head, yeah, I have to do this every day.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not always, and people
Well,
always
you
ask,
want to do it, right?
You
you
want
want to
to,
do it.
yes,
You
you
want
want
to do
to,
it, and that's the
And
yes,
it's not
difference.
even you. It
yes,
becomes, wow, I'm feeling stressed. I need to go work out.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it becomes your instead of I need a cigarette, instead of I got
yeah,
to go get a drink.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it changes. It's just I need to work out
Sure.
because what a workout will give you is the same thing the ineffective health destructing choices you're making are
yeah.
doing for you.
It's funny.
Like
I was
stress don't know
saying
how to
that
go eat.
I was saying that to Jen yesterday. I had been out. I get up early to work out to do a workout before work every day, and
Mm-hmm.
I let myself sleep in yesterday because I had been out the night before at this like big dinner, and I was tired the whole day. And I said, if I had only just gotten up and done, I thought I was helping myself by not doing the workout, but I was really hurting myself.
Yeah.
Like, because the workout is
Yeah,
what wakes me up more than a cup of coffee, more than anything I
yeah,
might do. It like snaps me to attention. I'm like, okay, your day's starting.
it
I
does.
have to
It
say though,
sure
it's
does.
not,
Yeah.
it's not the same. We are all, people who are active and want these things and understand how to relieve stress in natural ways or in ways that are healthy. But most people
I
are
know
not
they
this, are
don't.
not
They
us.
don't.
I know.
How do you
Yeah.
reach those people who are not this isn't their norm? How do you get them to start to develop these habits?
I mean, is that through products like yours? It's like, people see,
Yeah,
the
that's the hope,
stealth, and you're
right?
like, okay, I don't want to do
Yeah.
planks, but oh, look at this. It's like a fun way to do a plank. I mean, maybe it's that.
Hmm.
That is our message. We turn fitness into a fun game, and we have a lot of testimonials with hundreds of thousands of people that own this stuff. There's several people that basically said it looked like it would be fun, something I would do. So
Hmm.
it has definitely affected a lot of people to where they're like, oh my God, I can actually plank for 2 minutes,
Yeah.
where they would never think of doing that before. So it's small, again, habits are, if you read the book Tiny Habits,
Sure.
Atomic
Yeah.
Habits, it's
Yeah.
small,
Yeah. Yeah.
little tiny things done over and over that all of a sudden you're feeling wonderful about it. But how do you get there?
You just wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm doing this
Mm-hmm.
today. And then you just do it.
And you have to have a leverage on yourself. One thing I learned from Tony Robbins years ago was leverage. How do you get leverage on yourself?
Hmm.
This new book that my buddy Dr. Darden's writing, that whole book is going to be based on the simple fact is you're 50 or 60 or even 70 and just getting started. You're going to die from a broken hip. You're going to lose your balance and fall.
Yes.
You're going to
Yes.
just have no energy because your mitochondria is just shot because you have no muscle. All you have to do is these 5-minute simple strength training moves every day, and you're going to live longer, and you're not going to die. And, it's showing pain to people. You have to really say, look, here's your option, a walker or walking with your grandkids. So those are one of the images I'm going to put on the landing page. Somebody walking with their grandkid or somebody in a walker looking
Yeah.
down at their
Oh my
grandkid.
God.
You got to put that picture in the head to motivate somebody at
Yeah.
that age, like what's important, because things change as you get older, right? You never even
Yeah.
had grandkids. That's not important. When I was
Right.
younger, it's like I
Right.
never even thought of dying until I turned 50. I'm
Well, I
like,
was going to say, and I
Well,
think
yeah.
I
I
think
that's true.
that's so true. It's like, I'm all about meeting people where they are and where are you at? How can we work with what you're comfortable with, but raising that bar and seeing what's possible for you at your whatever age you're at, right? But I think as you get older, images like that are so much more impactful than if I'm 25 and I'm looking at somebody in a walker, I'm thinking, well, that's never going to be me. I mean, I never thought I'd be 50. I was like,
Yeah.
50 is old, you know?
Seriously. I mean, it really is. You do that. I think 50 is that mark where you think like, oh, I've lived longer now than I'm going to be living going forward, which is a very sobering thought. And so you're
I
like, how
know.
can I change my life to live better? And it really is like youth wasted on the young, because I feel like the people I know in their 50s and 60s and even 70s are living better lives than my
Yeah.
sister who's in her 30s, or people in their 20s, that are coming through now. You want to like shake
You
them and be
can't
like,
tell them.
okay, do this.
No matter what, you can't tell them. And,
No.
put yourself back there, right?
Yeah.
Sure,
No one can
I
sure.
tell
was
you that.
working so hard to make money
Yeah.
100 hours a week just to
Yeah.
survive. You didn't even think
Totally.
about I might die someday. It's like
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
will kill
Yeah.
me. I'm indestructible.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who's 81. He'll be 82 this year, and that's exactly how he says it. A friend of mine in Montana. You'd never know this guy's. I mean, from a stress-free life, he has no kids. His dad died when he was in his 40s, left him the business. He sold it for like 10 million bucks, and he's
Wow.
81 today. So he retired basically at 43,
Wow.
and
Wow.
has never gotten another job, has never started another business. He raced cars for a while, traveled. So he's got a great stress-free life,
Yeah.
but he didn't pick up really and focus into health or activities until I met him when he was 60 or late 50s, early 60s. But he's got this thing, because I got him every book I read, he reads now, right? And he's like into all this stuff.
That's like me with
So,
her.
yeah, it happened, right? I told him he's my test dummy. Taught him how to ski when he was 70. He started skiing.
No
Wow.
way.
And just this year, he decided, I don't know if I'm going to do it yet, because you start to say, is the risk, right,
Sure.
worth the reward?
Sure.
Right.
And the risk of falling and breaking something at 80, you start to like. I went downhill mountain biking last year, and I probably won't do that again with my daughter. And she flipped over, and I slammed on the brakes because I had done it with a friend just the year before. And I mean, we were racing down big hills in Montana, and it was so cool. But I was scared. I saw her flip over handlebars, and she hit her brakes. We were only halfway down the mountain, and then I freaking slammed on mine and flew over the handlebars, landed in a pile of rocks, heard all this clunking and smashing and crunching. And she was hurt. I thought she could have broke her neck because when she first hit.
Yeah.
So to me, I won't do that again. Like the risk
Yeah.
isn't worth the
Right.
Sure. You
excitement
Right.
you
Right.
get
pick and
from
choose.
that.
I think
Yeah.
as you get older, there is a
Yeah.
line, a
There's a
level
bar.
as to what you attempt and what you
There's a line in the sand.
But there's nothing you can't. I think there's nothing you can't do
Right.
if you are properly trained, if you have the right attitude about it. You know what to do because of past experience. All those things.
Yeah. I like to end things like, I think our signature is becoming, a list of threes, like what are three things? I think listening to you and the way you've lived your life, I think, what are 3 qualities that you think you have, or what can you tell people to cultivate in their own selves to help them succeed at whatever, I mean, sounds very broad, but on the other hand, I think you're a very focused individual. I mean, I'm glad I'm finally getting to meet you, truthfully, because it is very inspiring. So I appreciate that. But are there, simple things that people to set their mindsets on success in all things,
Well, I think it's questions, right? If you ask the right questions, and I've heard this from so many different people, but if you ask the right questions, you'll get answers. More than anything is just ask the right questions, even with invention, with anything. I see a problem and you're frustrated about something. Instead of complaining about it, I can't believe people did it. Well, what can I do to avoid this, Like I remember a great story, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Do you know who that is?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, great guy. So he talked about somebody beeping in the horn when he was in traffic and just beeping and beeping because he's not moving because he can't. So how he pleasantly just gets up, walks back to the person, taps on the window. They're like all freaked out. He said, obviously, you know how to move the traffic, so why don't you go up front and I'll sit here and beep on your horn.
Yeah.
That's really
That's
so
fantastic.
true.
Yeah.
Why get your hormones and energy and
Why go
fire
crazy?
up your fight or flight and burn out everything when you
Totally.
can't do anything?
Totally.
So, yeah, it's really about asking that question. What can I do about what's happened to me?
That's amazing.
More than anything.
That's great.
Or what is it I want to accomplish, right?
What do I want to accomplish? Yeah, and why is this happening for me as opposed to me? And what's the opportunity? Like you mentioned when we first got on, how you were brought up, and you took that as an opportunity, not a setback, and it brought you to where you are today. So.
Really extraordinary story.
Didn't I tell you?
You did. You did. I've been hearing about you for so long from Jenn. And I know that you wanted to do something together, and I'm so happy that I got to be a part of this together.
We all will.
So, yeah.
We
all do it together.
There's so many opportunities. There's not enough lifetime left. That's what
Keep us in mind because we're very interested in all of this. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking all this time.
It's a pleasure.
I feel like every time I talk to you, it just leads to more questions.
There's a lot more questions than answers.
We'll have to have you back. But thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Well, good.
And I'm Lori Schulweis.
And I'm Jenn Giamo.
And this was Everybody Talks.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
For more information about the podcast, to learn more about us, and to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at everybodytalkspodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Jenn Giamo, at Shully, or at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, tune into our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
And don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody.
The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweis and Jenn Giamo. Produced and edited by Eric Jackowitz.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, and Murray.
Talk to you next time.